genre has had its fair share of busts, but these films turned skeptical viewers into... And today, we're counting down our picks for the top 10 horror movies that were surprisingly good.
You can see everything coming! Did that surprise you?
Before we begin, we publish new videos every day, so be sure to subscribe for more great content. For this list, we're looking at horror films that, for one reason or another, were not expected to be good, but were actually more than enjoyable.
What do you need?
Number 10, The Cabin in the Woods.
Are you even listening to me?
A horror movie about a group of friends who spend the night in a cabin in the woods featuring lesser-known actors and Chris Hemsworth? Talk about cliché. Add in the fact that it's more of a parody and clever deconstruction of the genre than a straight-up horror flick, and you've got a recipe for disaster. Only it isn't. In fact, the film has a terrific 92% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, with critics praising its ability to be scary and funny at the same time.
Oh, come on!
Joss Whedon and Drew Goddard's writing is especially impressive, as it plays on multiple cliches while simultaneously adding unique twists and turns.
I dismember that guy with the trowel. What have you been up to?
Number 9, Halloween H2O, 20 years later.
What do we do? What do we do? Try to live.
The 7th film in the Halloween franchise, this movie came out 20 years after the original, obviously. However, it actually acts as the 3rd film in the series, since it takes place after the events of Halloween 2, while erasing the 4th to 6th installments from canon. Although some critics were skeptical of this decision, many have since called H2O the best of the sequels, praising both the script and the acting. This film also features the return of iconic scream queen Jamie Lee Curtis, which alone makes it worth watching.
I guess everyone's entitled to one good scare. I've had my share.
Number 8, Eden Lake.
At your first opportunity, turn around.
In one of his first roles on the silver screen, Michael Fassbender is terrific in this gruesome tale depicting the horrors of broken Britain, as is his co-star Kelly Riley. Although the film features several horror movie cliches, it remains genuinely scary all the way down to its bloody ending.
Please just get me out of here.
While it is in the same vein as several other films depicting the dangers of teen gangs in Britain, it received strong critical praise, with some considering it to be one of the best British horror films ever made. Number 7, Dead Silence.
They were found without their tongues.
Considered one of the best horror film directors out there today, James Wan is perhaps best known for Saw and The Conjuring. But back in 2007, he gave us this little gem. Wan does a nice job of making it a more light-hearted horror film in comparison to his other works.
Come closer, and I'll tell you.
You might not get scared to death, but you are guaranteed to scream and laugh until the very end. While it's not a critical standout, this is the perfect film to throw on if you feel like watching a horror movie with a group of friends.
Whatever happened, don't scream.
Number 6, Slither.
What the
Best known today for directing the Guardians of the Galaxy films, James Gunn got his start with this horror comedy back in 2006. Although this movie actually lost money at the box office, it's since established a cult following and was a critical success, particularly for its homage to classic B-movies of old and for its excellent casting. Okay, so it's not necessarily scary per se, but it is extremely disturbing.
I'll keep growing till I'm everywhere.
As such, it's probably a good idea to avoid snacking on popcorn when watching.
That's kind of negative.
Oh, it's been that sort of day.
Number 5, Evil Dead.
I released something evil.
The original Evil Dead trilogy is one of the most popular series among horror fans, which meant that the 2013 remake was guaranteed to receive a lot of scrutiny from critics and fans alike. But unlike most classic horror remakes, this one delivered. focusing more on the horror and less on the camp. Evil Dead is truly a terrifying experience, full of grotesque scenes that will have you watching the screen through your fingers. Evidently, audiences felt the same way, as the film made nearly $100 million at the box office on just a $17 million budget.
I will feast on your soul!
Based on this motherfucker!
Number 4. Scream 4.
You forgot the first rule of remakes, Jill. Don't with the original.
The final feature directed by Wes Craven before his death. This film was released more than a decade after Scream 3. Considering the lackluster reception the third flick received, the excitement for this movie was muted to say the least. While it doesn't capture the spirit of the original, the fourth installment is significantly better than the third, with critics praising Craven's direction and Kevin Williamson's script.
This is the last person you're ever gonna see alive.
The combination of original cast members with new additions like Emma Roberts was also effective to bring the Scream franchise into a new decade.
New movie, new franchise.
Number 3. Wes Craven's New Nightmare.
Until Mommy gets back, whatever you do, don't fall asleep.
While technically part of the A Nightmare on Elm Street franchise, this film doesn't follow the series' continuity. Rather, it features a more sinister Freddy Krueger, who interacts with the people behind the movies, including Heather Langenkamp and Wes Craven himself.
You're gonna have to make a choice.
Choice? What kind of choice?
Whether or not you're willing to play Nancy or Les.
This unique take on the character and the franchise was well received by critics, who praised Craven for bringing horror films into reality. The return of a vicious Freddy and multiple plot twists make this a must-watch for any horror fan.
Put a rubber bitch.
Number 2. Ouija, Origin of Evil.
Mary, we invite you into our circle.
Considering how poorly the original film Ouija was received, expectations for this prequel were extremely low. But a focused plotline and better character development made this an intriguing story for audiences.
I believe she is channeling powers and forces we do not understand.
Critics agreed, with several praising the film for its combination of haunted house horror and a skillfully made period piece. While this movie doesn't reinvent the exorcism genre, it is significantly better than its predecessor, and features solid acting, as well as some genuinely terrifying scenes. Before we unveil our number 1 pick, here are some honorable mentions.
Everybody, get to the show! Get to the show!
Happy Father's Day!
Bring together all 3 parts, and you shall be.
Number 1. Get Out.
Get out! Yo! Yo, chill, man. Get out! Chill, man.
The directorial debut of comedian Jordan Peele is largely considered to be one of the best movies of 2017. And to say this is surprising is an understatement. Get Out has a remarkable 99% fresh rating on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's easy to see why. With terrific acting, clever storytelling, and broader commentary on race in America, this movie is a fan favorite.
He wasn't driving.
I didn't ask who was driving, I asked to see his ID.
Yeah, why? That doesn't make any sense.
Peele demonstrates an ability to create tension by building the horror methodically throughout the piece, rather than relying on cheap jump scares. It also features a gory ending for horror fans who crave blood and guts. All in all, we're convinced this film will go down as one of the classics of the genre in years to come.